Hey, what it do? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're just having a great day. So this video ended up taking way longer than I wanted it to. We ran into a ton of problems with the old Baler. We ended up having to have some custom parts made for this thing because I looked it up and this guy is anywhere from 50 to 55 years old. It's a very, very old Baler and parts are just made out of unobtainium. So before we start this video, I just wanted to give a huge thanks to the guys down at Mike's Metalworks. We would not have got as far as we did if it was not for them. And the piece that we made just ended up working great. And as you guys can tell, we do have the tractor hooked up to it. So you guys can probably figure out what's gonna be going on in this video. I'm super excited for it. It's gonna be a pretty good video. And I don't think there's anything else that's gonna sneak its way into this one. It's pretty much all just focused on this Baler. But I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go ahead and jump on into it and let's roll.
I came from the mud, just dirt on my hands.
Still way better than anything I could. These are made by Brighton Vest, 1925.
Oh, I've been running from the law.
I don't think that was supposed to happen. Are you ready to learn what a carriage bolt is? Okay, you see this thing?
Yeah.
You know what makes that a carriage bolt?
They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.
So I'm super excited for today's video, and on a quick side note, this has nothing to do with today's video, but I did pick up a pretty sweet water tank yesterday. And for everybody that's been following the channel, you know that we have an RPS solar pump up front, and we're gonna start working on that again. I gotta build a water tower to hold that thing. So for today, we're gonna be working on the old Baler, and I'm actually about to have some custom pieces cut right now. I do have to go do some work today. That kind of takes precedence. While we're on about today, Jake's gonna shear me off some pieces. We're gonna put it on their plasma cutter table, and we're gonna replicate those old pieces that we can't get anymore. All right, let's go ahead and pull out the originals. Oh, it's way back there. This is like crazy precise.
Well, I like to do it right.
Yeah, a lot better than me with a drill in my garage. So what we are doing is very basic, but look at this other design that they're working on right now. We need that on the front gates at the ranch. So would your plasma cutter like register those as other cuts? If there's like double stacked lines?
If you use them as layout lines and whatnot, then yeah, it'll start registering everything and throw it way off.
Nice.
You can't have any extra hidden lines. So now, we'll just double check our layout. I'll double check. Half inch. 4 11/16.
Alright, so we've got everything designed. We are headed over to the big plasma cutter to where we're gonna work our magic, I guess.
So you can turn on the air.
Whoa, this is all part of that?
Everything.
Jeepers.
This is the drying system. This is the air compressor.
Uses argon too?
Yep. There's argon, nitrogen, and oxygen, and compressed air.
Huh. Dang.
Yep.
All right, so I had one question because this piece of metal that we're gonna be cutting out of has a little bit of a radius. So I just asked Jake if the machine has a problem cutting stuff on a radius. And I'm gonna go ahead and let him explain a little bit better than I can.
No, so the machine has an arc sensing technology, and basically it's all electrical signals. The head will come over and touch, and as it starts cutting, it senses how tall it needs to be for the ideal arc position, and it will move with the material as it moves in a certain contour.
Dang, that's pretty wild. All right.
Start with homing it, and we'll load up its program, align the plate, we're ready to cut.
So does it find the plate on its own?
No, I have to, so the camera on the side has a target. You line it up at whatever point axis you choose, and then it'll align the plate for you, but it will actually rotate the program. So if you throw the plate on there sideways or at an angle, and you align it on the edges of the plate, it'll skew the program to still land on the plate.
Dang, that's rad.
Right now it's homing it. finding X and Y 0.
How often do you have to replace those bars underneath it?
Depends on how thick of material we're cutting.
Oh, okay.
So the thicker, the more amps are going through it, the more aggressive the flame is. Thinner stuff, not so bad usually, but we just shear them to length and you can pull them out and just drop new ones in. It's pretty simple. Then we have to put in the right amperage. It says 130 amp. We have all the heads organized, what goes with what, on purpose. Everything's quick connect too. Just on the threads.
Dang.
Goes in. Drops into place. Ready to go. That fast.
That's pretty rad.
Select the database. So it's an XPR machine. We're cutting mild steel, 3/8 thick, 130 amps. Hit apply. Now it's going to purge. You have to do interior. So that's if you have any holes, slots, designs, whatever, cutouts, interior cutouts. You apply the same thing. True holes for circles, dry cuts for something else. Same process. That's it. There's no marks, nothing else. Now you align the plates. Right now it's set up to a 3-point Y on the bottom left, but if you look at it, see how the plate's long, but it's really long the other way.
Oh, okay.
So if you change it to the 3 points X, now it's long on the long side. And then you just line it up like a target. Bolt it at the center, come over generally to the center, on the edge. Okay. Go up a little bit. Edge. There. Line point.
Whoa.
Bam.
Dude, this
Right
is
to the
crazy
corner.
how fast that is.
Right to the corner. Make sure everything's set correctly. Everything's on, ready to go. So I'm going to do the one square and then we're going to check that bolt and see if it works.
Oh,
Got the bolt?
we're gonna do some test fitting real quick.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the right one. Looks good to me.
Won't spin. That should work. Just let it keep going.
I can't believe how fast it cut that one hole out.
Take a little longer with a die grinder.
Oh yeah.
If you want to set it there, you
I think I'm going to, if that's okay. Okay.
up and close, and it's pretty rad.
So this on the side is the vacuum?
Correct.
Okay.
So underneath that blue piece of trim on the side, there's an HVAC duct underneath there. And it goes out the back, you can see it on that side, and then it goes out the side and up and over into the dust collector.
Okay. Is it done?
Yeah.
Holy smokes, guys. This is gonna take me all day to make those things.
This one got kind of stuck. We'll have to get it done.
Hey.
They are hot. Not perfect. It happens. Driveway gate, where it's going to be.
Oh, dang.
Of course I do.
Old Bridgeport.
Yes, sir. This thing's a beast. It's my favorite machine. Happens.
Don't mind that.
That looks pretty centered. Probably works better when it's turned on.
Maybe. Give it a go.
Oh, beautiful.
Maybe
A
it's
little more?
well.
You can go a hair more.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe just a tiny bit.
Okay.
Like that's probably good.
Think that'll work?
Beautiful.
Money.
Perfect.
All right. And we'll test each one.
Calling on CX 211 at 454 South Main. Back up needed.
So as we're drilling this, I went, oh, and he instantly knew what my concern was, and we both thought about it at the same time. So these are directional, and we were not taking that into consideration. We just kind of were going for it. So we are going to countersink this one on this side, and then when we go to do that one, we're basically gonna flip-flop it. So when I get back to the ranch, I'll basically,
50-50 shot.
yeah, we'll have a shot at making it.
Yeah. That's funny.
We're having a little bit of difficulty getting some of these bolts in, and Jake was just explaining to me about you have a good side of the arc, bad side of the arc, something like that.
Yeah. Basically on a plasma, you have a good half of the arc and a bad half of the arc. If you're cutting an interior or exterior shape, it doesn't matter. As it reaches the halfway point, it goes from the good edge, where it's going to be nice and straight and smooth, to the other side where it's going to be tapered and pretty wonky sometimes. The thicker the material, the worse it gets. But
Okay.
for the most part, it's just something you have to work around. I don't have a laser yet.
Still way better than anything I could do. And when I say we're having a difficult time, it's like so minuscule. It's really not even a big deal.
Yeah.
Yep, bingo.
Too deep on that one.
All right, well, as far as these pieces go, we are done. They turned out super, super awesome. We're gonna make our way back up to the office and probably shoot the breeze for a little bit because I don't gotta leave for another couple hours. And then I'm excited to get back to the ranch and try and get these things fitted. And hopefully they work. That's gonna be the biggest accomplishment. So one of these days I'm gonna have to come over here when they're cutting some I-beams with their big Python. That thing is probably the coolest machine I've ever seen.
Very soon. Hopefully next week.
Oh, yeah. So maybe we'll be back here soon. But if you guys have not heard of a Python, look up Lincoln Python. Lincoln Python what?
X.
X? Lincoln Python X. Such a gnarly machine. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. I've taken enough of Jake's day, but he just did such an awesome job. We got them stashed right here in the headache rack. As soon as I wrap up work for the day, we'll go ahead and see if these things actually work. But I'm gonna hit the road. Thanks again, Jake. You're the man.
Have a good one.
And yeah, I don't know. I guess I should get to work. All right, well, I'm getting back to the ranch a little bit later than anticipated. And originally I was not going to be working on this thing, but as I got to thinking about these things, I know that I'd be laying in my bed tonight and I'd probably wake up around midnight. I'd start thinking about them. I'd start wondering if they were going to fit. So I'm going to go ahead and test fit these, see if they work. We do have a little bit of correction that we need to do. You guys can see that they have a nice little arch to them. They got a pretty good little bow going on. You can see it better on this one. So using a very scientific method, we're gonna go ahead and try and straighten these out. And yeah, I'm sure you guys get the point. I'm gonna go ahead and bounce up and down on that a little bit. All right, so it's not perfect, but it's way better than it was. It's relatively straight. And I think once we actually bolt it to the side of the baler, or on the side of the tunnel right there, I think it'll actually kind of straighten it out as we snug it up. So I'm super hoping that this fits right now. This is kind of a big moment. Let's go ahead and drop this thing in there. Hopefully the countersink is going the right way. I'm trying to remember where I put my little cordless light. Definitely gonna need that right now. So I wanna be able to show you guys what's going on in there, and I cannot find my little cordless light right now. For the life of me, that thing has just disappeared. I haven't worked on anything other than this, so I figured it would have been here somewhere, but I'm not sure where that thing went. So I'm gonna spend a couple more minutes looking for it, and if I don't find it, I apologize. But yeah, give me just a little bit. Well, we're just gonna have to make do with this one. A little bit overkill, but I think it'll get the job done. Oh, look at that. Just dandy. Yeah, we'll go brightest setting. So the cleaning never ends on this thing. There was some more old shim material that I had to bust out, so I'm gonna go ahead and vacuum that up real quick. And then after that, we get to go ahead and do the test fit. So fun fact, only 3 of these little plow bolts survived. The rest of them I had to cut off because they were just free spinning. They weren't doing anything. But 3 is all we need to get this tested. So you guys can see that we got the rail in right there. It's looking beautiful. It's looking like everything's gonna line up. I'm gonna go ahead and put 1 plow bolt right here. We're gonna tighten this one up. And then I'm probably gonna do like the center one right there. We'll tighten that one. And then after that one's done, we will take the remaining plow bolt and see if it fits in the rest of the holes. So I'm trying to get some of those bolts in, and I think that's the incorrect one. So we're gonna go ahead and flip it out with this one. You guys can see I've already straightened this one out pretty good already. So hopefully I can get that plow bolt out, then we'll get these things switched around. So as far as getting this thing put back together tonight, I don't think it's gonna quite happen. It is so close to fitting, but the holes back there, they're just a little bit high. As far as this way, they all line up perfectly. But I'm kind of thinking that there's a lot of corrosion underneath this thing. It's kind of hard to see. You know, let me go ahead and take this out. I'm not sure how well this is gonna show up on camera, but you guys can kind of see that we have like a very little lip right here. And it's pretty much the thickness of this plate right here. If you follow this line, it comes over and it's basically welded to this right here. Then we have an elevation change and it actually goes down right here. So realistically, this piece right here needs to have probably an 1/8 inch ground off the bottom of it for it to fit correctly. So as bad as I want to get this thing put back together tonight, I don't think it's going to happen because I got a super early day tomorrow, but those pieces are going to work. I'm just going to have to modify them ever so slightly. I'm going to have to grind off probably about an 1/8 inch off the bottom of them, and then I think they'll fit just perfectly. But I got to call it quits for tonight because I've already stayed up here longer than I wanted to, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and try and crank through as much as we possibly can. I got a couple things set up so we can just kind of streamline through some stuff, but you guys can see we got this rod right here. Not sure if you guys are gonna be able to see this black line. I drew it on there with a Sharpie. Now, if I had like the world's most steady hand, I probably would attempt this with the cutting torch or the plasma cutter, but basically we're gonna go ahead and just take the grinder. We're just gonna start here. I'm just gonna work our way this way, taking off just a little bit at a time. So now I'm gonna get to grinding and hopefully it fits.
Let me tell him one time, I've been on the grind, this my prime. Let me tell him one time, I've been on the grind, and this my prime. Yeah, I'm sorry for the wait. Didn't think I'd come up, y'all just need a little faith. I've been patient, just waiting on the river with an ace. Gotta move real careful, we coming surveying the place. I touch down in your city, that's a rival. Y'all got one thing on your mind, it's survival. But if you wanna take a shot at the title, call the medic, we checking your vitals. Let me tell him one time, I've been on the grind, this my prime. Let me tell him one time, I've been on the grind, and this my prime. Let me tell him one time. Said I'm all in my prime. Let me tell him one time, I've been on the grind, feeling real good, yeah, all in my prime. It's about that time, say your goodbyes, cause ain't no match for the way that I grind, yeah, I'm all in my prime. Prime time, we mile high, the gate closed.
All right, so it's not too shabby for having done it with a grinder, but I took about an 1/8 inch off roughly the entire way down. You guys can see that we have our little lip right here now. So we're gonna go ahead and take this thing over to the hay baler and see if it fits. There's a good chance this thing is still scorching hot. Let me see real quick. Yeah, that side's definitely hotter. Let's go ahead and start with this side. Little toasty. So I still have not like 100% cleaned out right there. I've pretty much chipped everything out, but there's still a little bit of rust residual down there. So I went ahead and put a wire wheel on the grinder. We're gonna go ahead and hit that corner right there, try and get everything out, try and get it nice and clean. And then after we do our test fit, I'll put like some rust preventative stuff down there, hit it with some paint. So hopefully it doesn't expand and cause the same issue again. So let me go ahead and get that cleaned out, and then we'll go ahead and test that piece a little bit better. That didn't sound good. Chonk. So we're gonna go ahead and repair one more thing since we have this all torn apart. Basically, you have this guide rail that the actual plunger sits on and goes back and forth. I went ahead and loosened everything. I think, is there more? I think that's it. What's going on here? Ugh. Give me 1 second. We got one more little bolt down there that's hiding. We're gonna go ahead and try and find out where it is. Is this it? Yep, that guy right there. Whew. See that? Just broke right in half. All right, now this thing should probably come on. There we go. It even brought some of the baler with it. All right, so you guys can see we got another little shim down here. That's nice. Let's see. That's just mud. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this out one more time. So as far as testing purposes go, I think we are clean enough to go ahead and stick this piece in here. And let's see. That's right. It goes like this. Hopefully this thing lines up. I'm gonna go ahead and slide it back a little bit. We're looking a little bit more promising than last time. Still sitting a little bit high right here, but I think it's gonna go ahead and go in. All right, so here's the deal. I went to the hardware store in town and Tractor Supply, and neither one of them had plow bolts. So we are gonna be using carriage bolts for the time being. I do have the correct bolts on their way, but they will not get here till Monday or Tuesday. So we're gonna go ahead and put these in there just for fitting purposes. And then once the correct bolts get here, we'll go ahead and replace them. But let's go ahead and drop this first one in there. Oh, we're looking pretty snug, I like it. And I know it's gonna be hard to see, but that notch is in the exact right place. Let's go ahead and see if this bolt lines up. Well, we're already way better than we were this morning. Let's go ahead and grab a couple more. Fighting it a little bit. Well, shame on me, guys. I didn't even grab enough carriage bolts. We're gonna be one shy, but we're gonna go ahead and see if these last two line up. Oh, looking pretty good there. Went right in. Let's go ahead and see if this one goes. Ooh, man. The only one we're having trouble with so far is that one. Let's see how this last one looks. Oh, you guys, I think we're in business. Let's go ahead and try and finagle this one a little bit. Come on. We're gonna go ahead and give it a little persuasion. Yeah, that's all it needed was a little love tap. You guys, those holes all line up perfectly. I think this rail is gonna work out great. I'm gonna go ahead and put some nuts on the backside, snug it up, see how straight we're looking. So this is definitely gonna require two hands. I'm gonna go ahead and set the camera down and get all these things snugged up. Grease. Okay. All right, guys, we are looking pretty good. You guys can see we got it all installed. This is super tightened down. You guys can see we kind of got like a weird gap right here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off again, see what's going on back here, because it totally kicks this rail out a little bit. We can't be having that, but everything else is looking super, super nice. I'm so bummed right now that I'm gonna have to wait to get those bolts because I wanna put this thing back together so bad. But realistically, it's probably gonna be the right move because I did find some shim material that's on its way too, and it'll get here on Monday or Tuesday. So once we do get the bolts, we'll actually be able to put it back together correctly. We're not gonna skip any steps. I'm just like getting super antsy to get this thing hooked up to the tractor and see that plunger moving back and forth. But at the same time, we need to do things correctly. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean up this inner rail while we're at it. And the bolts that we took out actually thread directly into this thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up. I'm gonna go ahead and true up that edge a little bit. You guys can see we got a little bit of a bulge right there. I'm not sure exactly what happened in the past 40 years that caused that, but we will get this straightened out as well. I'll pick up some new bolts when I run into town today. These ones are not gonna be hard to find, and even if they're not the exact length, I'll just run them through and then grind them off smooth. So I'm gonna go and freshen these threads up a little bit on this bottom plate. Some of them are pretty boogered up. They've been a little bit rusty for a while, so basically just gonna go ahead and tap them back out. All right, well, not a whole lot to do today. We're just gonna go ahead and put this guy on. You guys can see that it's looking pretty fresh. Yeah, that's just grease. That's okay, I don't mind if that's there. But I did pick up all the bolts for it. So we're gonna go ahead and drop this back in place, get it all bolted down and make sure that all the new threads work and that it does not interfere with our new guide plate. As much as I tried to get the right bolts, I need some that are about ½ an inch longer. So I'm gonna go see what I got in my stockpile, see if we got anything that'll work. Just never goes quite right. I don't remember if I showed you guys these things when we were taking this rail out, but it does have these two like little adjustment arms. We got one right here, then there's one on the back end too. So basically we just loosen this little nut right here. And then as you adjust that nut right here, it's basically gonna move this little holder back and forth. And as you move this back and forth, if all of the bolts are loosened on this thing, it'll move the plate up top side to side. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave them where they were and hopefully assume that when we took this thing apart, it was lined up correctly. And we're just trying to get it back to where it was. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten all of these back up. So I don't want to go too tight and rip the threads out of that plate just because it's old. A little bit on the rusty side. So we're just going a little bit past snug, but not wrenching on it super, super hard. Because there's not going to be a whole lot of pressure on this thing. We just need to not let it move around. Okay. All right, we just got the last one tightened up. The ones back there are kind of tricky to get to, but they're all snugged up. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at them from the top side. I may need to hit them with the grinder because I think some of them may be sticking through that plate a little bit. So these two are looking pretty good. Those ones are all sticking up way too high. I may brush those just a little bit, but these ones definitely gotta come down. So one more quick thing to notice before we actually go ahead and grind all this down is the clearance that we have between this and this is looking pretty good. It actually seems kind of big. I'm not 100% sure what's going on here. I don't know if this is gonna fight us or if that's gonna be a problem, but regardless, I'm gonna go ahead and grind those down. All right, I think we are officially to the putting back together stage of this thing. You guys can see we got this rail all the way installed. It's nice and smooth. All the heads have been ground down. Well, that one could actually probably still come down a little bit. It's way stronger than it was just a couple days ago. Now that we've got all the bolts in there, this thing doesn't wobble around anymore. Before, this thing was just like flopping up and down, moving side to side. It was just barely connected, I think, by 1 or 2 bolts that were pretty rusted. So this is looking good. So the last thing that I'm going to be able to do today is this guy right here. I did pick up a new nut and bolt for this. We can go ahead and get it fastened to that. And unless I can think of something else to do, I'll probably call it quits for today. But let me go ahead and get this guy installed real quick. That's definitely not going to work. There we go. Okay, use the existing washer for that one. Okay, oh, doing that wrong. Okay, that's a little better. See if the washer will fit on this back side. Oh, this thing used to sit way higher. Huh. Oh, you know what, guys? We're gonna have to go ahead and add another piece to the puzzle. There used to be another height adjustment mechanism right here. You guys can see we got the 2 bolts right here connected to a thread. So we are supposed to be able to move these up and down so we can adjust the plunger accordingly. So I'm gonna have to take this apart, fabricate a new one of those. Should not be overly complicated. I think it's gonna be pretty straightforward. I actually think it was just a nut that was on there. No, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at some parts diagrams. I did find some of them, so I will be able to make a new one of these. All right, so I gotta gather my thoughts and kind of figure out what we got going on. Try to remember where I left off. I know I got a box of bolts somewhere. I picked up the plow bolts today and I'm not 100% sure where I put them. Give me 1 second. Got home, took them out, put them on my truck bed, and forgot about them. These are made by Bright & Best, founded in 1925, but made in Taiwan. Oh well. Anyways, yeah, so let's go ahead and switch out those old carriage bolts and we'll put in the correct bolts. And I only needed 7, but they only sell them in a box of 100. So I guess we'll have a couple spares. But anyhow, let's go ahead and get this bag opened up. We'll switch out all the carriage bolts, replace them with the correct bolt, and then I think we're ready to put the plunger back in there and see if it actually moves back and forth this time. And yeah, from there I guess we'll come up with a game plan. But let's go ahead and get these opened up. And just so you guys can reference what the old ones looked like, that's them right there. These are the new ones. The carriage part is much more defined. You guys can see how rounded out those ones are. Very rusty. So I think it's better that we go ahead and replace all of them. So I'm only gonna swap out 2 at a time. That way we can keep the actual guide rail in place and not have to like readjust anything. I'm gonna go ahead and start at the back. So we'll go ahead and, you guys, it is not easy to get to these bolts. Yeah, so let's do. All right, so as far as replacing that guide rail goes, I think we're just about done. We got all the bolts installed. They're all snugged in, like way cranked down. They're pretty tight. We had an issue with those 2 right there. They were sticking out just a tiny, tiny bit. So I kind of just went over the top of them with a grinder, smoothed it out a little bit. I'm not super concerned about it. I'll probably hit it with some paint later. Now we got to move our way onto the plunger and we have to fix this deal right here, which is gonna be pretty easy. I'm just gonna cut a piece of this round stock off, then drill a hole in the center of it, big enough for that bolt to go through. Well, I keep going back and forth on whether or not I just want to weld the nut to this piece or build some sort of actual spacer ring that moves up and down. And I think I've officially decided we're gonna go ahead and go with the spacer ring. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut a 1/2 inch thick piece of steel off of this. So basically it's gonna be like a washer on steroids. And then we'll go ahead and drill this out. All right, we've got pretty much everything prepped for the eyelet. Just dragging power over to the welder. But you guys can see our little, I don't know, whatever we're gonna call this, our height adjustment for the roller assembly. We've got our eyelet right here. We've got nice clean metal. Got the ground clamp hooked up. I'm gonna go ahead and hook up the power. Need to run back and grab my welding hood real quick. And we'll get that thing hot wrenched together. thing turned out pretty good. You guys can see that I went ahead and ground down that surface and that surface right there, because it's going to be riding along the inside of this plate right here. And it wasn't sticking out too much, but I figured we might as well just make it nice and smooth. So originally when I found that this piece was broken, I instantly started thinking, like, how do I make this stronger? How do I reinforce it? But the more that I got to thinking about it, I'm not super concerned about it, because once the bolt is in place and it's actually tightened down, it shouldn't be able to move anywhere, and it shouldn't really matter how strong or how reinforced this is, because it should be clamped in place and it should not be able to rock back and forth, go up and down. I think what happened was throughout the years that loosened up, or someone forgot to put a nut on there, and this thing was basically just walking back and forth, and that's what caused it to break. So if we keep that nut and bolt tight, we should have zero issues with this, and I don't think it's going to be a concern. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in there. Well, so far things are looking pretty good. We got the hole roughly lined up where we're going to want it. You guys can see that we have the 2 adjustment nuts. Not tight, but that's where they're gonna be. And if you guys look real close, you can see the imprint of where these rollers used to be. So I'm assuming that's roughly where they're gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and actually drop this down just a little bit, because you guys can tell we're sitting just a little bit high right there. So I'll bring this down just like another 1/8 of an inch, and then we'll go ahead and snug those up. We'll crank that down, and then this entire thing should be good to go ahead and go in the tunnel. All right, everything's looking pretty good. You can see it's got a little swivel. That is completely normal. It's actually necessary, but this bolt right here is super cranked down onto that back guy right there. So there's no back and forth, just side to side, which it actually needs as it goes back and forth. So let's go ahead and get this thing lifted up. Trying not to be too dorky, but this is a huge step in the right direction. I am so excited to try and use this thing. Well, we have slid the plunger all the way in. You guys can see we got the rod coming up to the crankshaft. I have the end cap right here. We got bolt 1, bolt 2. I am missing a lock washer for that one. I just have the nut. So we'll just put it on there for the time being, and I will pick up another lock washer. That's gonna be one of the ones that I need to find out a torque spec on. But let's go ahead and put this cap on there, get it tightened down, and then we'll start moving everything, see if we got full range of function, see if everything's moving how it should. I'm so excited for this. All right, so I can already tell that it's rolling back a lot smoother than it was prior to replacing and fixing everything on this side and getting that wheel in place where we needed to on that side. But as you guys can see, as we go to roll it back, we come to a pretty sudden stop right there. So there's a bunch of stuff back here that needs to be reconnected in order for everything to work properly. I think there's 5 of these little tabs that move up and down in certain sequences. I'm not 100% sure what causes them to do that. Like for instance, that one that's up front right there. That is the one that's actually stopping the plunger from moving back and forth right now. And if you guys can see this right here, as we move this up and down, it actually pulls that tab down, which would let the plunger come back a little bit more. So I'm gonna try and do this simultaneously and try and pull back the plunger. So I gotta figure out some way to keep this suspended up. Actually, I just had an idea. We will use a jack stand for this. So in theory, the plunger should be able to go back a little bit more now. Okay. Let's see. Did we make it past? Yep, we are past that one. So you're actually supposed to spin it counterclockwise, and I was going the incorrect way. You guys can see the hay rake actually doing its thing. Hit that tab again. All right. Go. Okay. Let's see what we're hitting now. Nothing so far. I would like to say this thing is gonna be up and working tomorrow because there's really not a whole lot left to do. I just have to reassemble some of the things back here, but I may find something else that's broken. So I'm not 100% sure that it's gonna work tomorrow, but I will at least be back to the point of fixing everything that I initially set out to get fixed, and it'll all be put back together. And we'll be able to hook it up to the tractor, see if the plunger has full range of motion. We'll be able to do all the tests tomorrow. So I'm super excited. So I'm definitely gonna have a hard time sleeping tonight because I'm just gonna be thinking about this thing nonstop, but I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, you ready to learn what a carriage bolt is? Okay, you see this thing?
Yeah.
You know what makes that a carriage bolt?
No.
Okay. See how it has a flat or like a rounded top end that's smooth?
Yeah.
And it has that square portion in the center?
Yes.
We need to find something just like that. Do you think you can find one?
Oh. Try. I feel like I'm really close. Found them.
All right. Let me see. Let's see if they're the same. All right. Can you find one that looks like that?
Okay. So it's supposed to look like that. Just...
Uh-huh. That one's been worn out pretty bad.
Oh.
All right, we'll pull them back up to the shop. What a sad sight that is. We need to get that thing out of there. I think today's the day where we have it all put back together and see if it actually works. All right, well, first up on the list is this guy right here. I was gonna replace this, but I think for now it's gonna be okay. But if it gives me grief later on, this is not a super hard piece to remove, and I could repair that pretty easily, but for now, I'm just like trying to get this thing pieced back together. So we're gonna put this piece on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start piecing everything back together. Probably take me an hour or two, so I'm just gonna set the camera up on a time lapse, and hopefully we get it done today. So when we went to Tractor Supply this morning to get all the nuts and bolts and washers and all that good stuff, we just grabbed handfuls out of the bins, and I didn't really look to see what we were grabbing. And at first when I pulled these out of the bag when we got home, I was kind of upset because I have found 3 of them so far with a piece that's been cut off. And obviously that's a manufacturer's defect, so I was like setting them aside. And not that I was gonna return them because this is like pennies right here, and it's not even worth it for me to drive back down there. But as we're coming over to this side right here, these washers with this edge cut off are actually working pretty good because they fit much better against this sidewall. Much better than a washer without any defects would. So I'm actually pretty happy that we got these jacked up washers now. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these things on, but I'm getting pretty close. I think the tunnel is pretty much all put back together. I'm just working on putting all this stuff back together. So there have been a couple times in my life where making YouTube videos has actually kind of saved me. I could not in any way, shape, or form remember where this spring and this tab went. So I had to go back and watch my previous video and look at the footage, and I was able to remember or figure out where this thing went. But we are to the point where we get to start looking to see what is working and what is not working. I'm gonna go ahead and try and move the plunger back and forth. If we come back here, oh gosh, I hit that thing so many times today. So if we come back here, you guys can see that we have 4 tabs, which now that we have the roller on that side positioned correctly with that new adjustment bolt that I made, these actually don't hit anything anymore. So that plunger should be able to move back and forth, whereas before that side of the plunger was actually sitting way down low. It was kind of tilted to the side and it was bumping into those things. So this may actually slide back and forth freely right now. We're gonna go ahead and run up front, start moving it around and see what it does. All right guys, well, very excited right now. I just got done doing a full rotation with this thing, just moving it by hand. I'm gonna go ahead and do it again. It's never moved this easy. You guys can see it coming up, and then the plunger's gonna start going back. Come around. There we go. That's a full cycle. All right, well, now that I know everything moves nicely, it's all freed up. We've been able to do a couple full rotations. I'm gonna go ahead and crawl back underneath. I'm gonna tension those chains correctly. Just because we have a couple weird spots where this isn't moving and everything else is, so I need to tension those back up properly. And then I'm gonna go ahead and clean everything up. We're gonna move my pickup out of the way. We're gonna get all this stuff out of the way. And then we'll bring the John Deere in here. We'll get this thing hooked up, and I think I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just very excited. So let me go ahead and get that adjusted, and then we'll get this all cleaned up. Tensions this thing. Play this one by ear a little bit. All right, well, before these chains were resting on each other, we got a little bit of a space now. I still think that's kind of loose, but we really don't have any more space to go. It's almost all the way at the end. So we're gonna go ahead and leave that for now. I do need to adjust this one next. That one's pretty loose too, so that's got to come up. Ugh. So I'm definitely gonna have to find some new chain adjusters or make my own. These ones are pretty worn out. This one especially is really bad. These things are made out of wood. Still blows me away a little bit that wood was actually integrated into these designs, but regardless, we got the chains a little bit more tensioned up. All right, guys, well, I got some prior commitments that I gotta take care of real quick. I gotta run over to Mike's house. Let's see if we get this first try. Ah, nope. But I gotta drop some steel off at his place. Then as soon as we get back, we'll be firing up the old John Deere, taking it into the shop and seeing how it works. All right, we just got back to the ranch. Let's go ahead and fire up the old John Deere, take it around to the front. I don't think you guys understand how excited I am right now. I've been wanting to get this thing working for years now, and it's like this close. So let's go ahead and get this whole thing disconnected, because we're not gonna need this. Come on. We are free. Now let's see if this old girl starts up. Oh, come on. All right, well, one thing that I wish this baler had was a hydraulic jack. This thing is not on the light side, so we're gonna go ahead and lift it up to try and aid moving it over so we can get it hooked up to the tractor. All right, learn something new every day with this tractor. So we have the hitch bar right here. I think it can slide way, way back, and I'm pretty sure that thing's just spring loaded. So we're gonna go ahead and try and pop that down. Oh no. I don't think that was supposed to happen. Well, shoot, guys. Let's see what's going on here. I may have just ruined my chances of anything. Another broken part. It's not going to be the most difficult repair in the world. I'm just going to have to grind that off, weld in another something. Just going to have to grind this off, weld something else in, drill a hole in it, something we can stick a cotter pin through so that we can reconnect this. But you guys can see that it's sticking out way more now. All right, we're looking much, much better. Let's go ahead and get this clipped into place. Come on. Come on. Not playing nicely. There we go. So I've never used one of these before, but I'm assuming you want this pretty close to vertical, and the less angle you have on a U-joint, the better. So I see that we got a little room for adjustment here. So I may actually go ahead and drop this down 2 holes, kind of flatten this out a little bit. All right, well, that's looking a little bit more straightforward, not as much bend to it, so there's gonna be less stress on this U-joint. Let's go ahead and, well, I guess that doesn't do a whole lot. Looks like we got ourselves a little bit of a curly Q right here. This does need to get straightened out so it can go back into those holes. So for now, we're just gonna leave that. All right, guys, well, I got a slight dilemma. I have this stack of big spacers right here, and I don't have a clue where they go. I've been looking forever to try and figure out where they go, and I don't know what I took them off of, and I can't find any bolt patterns that match up with that. So I think we're just gonna send it and see how this goes. Hopefully it goes smoothly. A little bit nervous right now, but we're gonna go ahead and start up the John Deere. We've got everything as connected as it's gonna be, and wish me luck, I guess. This is probably one of those things that you should not try by yourself, but since nobody's home and my neighbors are busy, we're just gonna go for it anyways. Hey, I didn't even have to bang on the starter. This must be something that's meant to happen. I'm gonna go ahead and straighten out the tractor just a little bit, just in case something crazy happens. Probably move this out of the way. All right, so you're gonna experience this with me. I'm pretty nervous right now because last time I tried this, back before I had everything moving freely, I sheared a bolt off, there were loud bangs, and I guess we'll just see how this goes. So, all right, so let's get the PTO going. Got that in gear. Oh, you guys, I'm so nervous right now. Oh! She's working. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off the tractor. We're gonna go take a look at it. I don't know what I'm looking at yet, but definitely don't want to stick your fingers in there. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on right here. I don't know why none of this is moving. I know this comes up at some point. I don't know if it engages anything right here. I don't know what's going on with those cutters. This part right here is what scares me. Imagine when we're making hay, like you got the grass coming through, you got the twine, and then when it's time to cut it, some sort of witchcraft goes on right here and it ties a knot. I don't understand how it works. This is what I want to see work the most out of anything on this entire machine. But you guys, I'm so excited right now. This is a huge, huge step in the right direction. You guys, sometimes I just have the worst luck. I was putting this nut back on. Things got a little bit crazy. Pretty much destroyed the threads on that. Trying to save what I can right now. Hopefully it's gonna be enough to make it work. There might not be enough thread to grab for things to go smoothly. So we are bottomed out. Let's go ahead and come back off. All right, we got some nice clean threads. You guys can see that I destroyed pretty much like the first 15-20% of this. I don't think we're gonna need it, hopefully. Let's see where all the pieces go. Got this one. That goes next. That goes next. I think we'll be okay. See if I grab the right lock washer. Nope. So lock washers are one of those things that you're not supposed to reuse, but we're gonna make a special exception today. And this one's really not even much of a lock washer. You guys can see that we don't have much of a difference there, but maybe that'll work in our benefit today. We're gonna go ahead and stick it on anyways. I think this is the one. I think we're gonna be okay. Whoops. Got a little bit ahead of myself. Okay. There you go. I'm not gonna go super crazy with this. That's all she's gonna get. All right. Okay. Why is this not moving? All right, guys, I think I'm slowly figuring out how this thing works, and I'm gonna try and explain it the best I can. But basically, as you got hay starting to come back, you guys see the ninja star right here? It's supposed to grab onto the top of the hay, and it's supposed to slowly rotate. Now you see how this is in the down position right now? And basically it's disengaging the clutch right here. But as the hay starts to come back and this starts spinning, look what happens. Oh, wrong way, sorry. You guys are gonna see that it slowly starts to bring that up, which is going to engage the clutch once it drops to that section down there. And then once that happens, it's going to take those two needles, which I think is what they're called. They're down below. They're gonna come flying up into this little area right here, which is part of the baling process. And I'm gonna come back. So this is gonna be where it starts to get hairy. I'm gonna come back here and make it do it manually while all of this is working so I can kind of see what's going on. I'm gonna try and show you guys the best I can while trying to be as safe as I can. So I may just have to set the camera down and we'll see how it goes. But let's see if the John Deere will start up without me having to bang on the starter again. Not today. I haven't had it take that long to get started in a while. So I've got a feeling that a new starter's on the list of repairs here for the old John Deere pretty soon. I have never had it take that long to start. So I'm gonna go ahead and scoot the machine forward just a little bit so we get the exhaust blowing outside of the shop and not inside of it. I don't feel like dying today. So not too much, just a little bit. So this is definitely one of those things that puts me out of my comfort zone, but I really need to know how this thing works. And I've been able to find almost zero literature on this thing, so you guys are gonna learn with me. Here we go. Didn't see a whole lot when you do that again. Okay. Back. All right, let's go ahead and film what's going on up here. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick the camera down in the plunger so we can see what's going on down there. So I think I kind of have it figured out how all of this stuff works, more or less. I was able to kind of track the movements and see what was going on. But sadly, I gotta go ahead and wrap things up and put the screws this video because I got a couple things I gotta do before tomorrow, and I got a long day ahead of me tomorrow, and I have to get some good sleep tonight. But I think by the end of the next video, this attachment is gonna be 100% operable, which I am mega excited for. Huge progress was made on this thing today. Thank you guys for watching. If you could do me a huge solid like, subscribe, share this video with your amigos, hit that notification button down below so you guys can continue to see progress on things like this, like the mower deck. Probably gonna be working on that over the weekend. And there's always a bunch of stuff going on around here. But thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Later.